To create a planting recommendation in Sirrus on the mobile device, I'm going to come over here to the top left to the three parallel bars, the menu bar, and go down to a field level. I could do this at the grower, the farm, or the field. I'm going to start at the field level and go to one of my fields that belongs to one of these farms. At the field level, I can come down here to the plus sign, which is in the center of the button, the add button. When it pops up, I can do the planting option. And this would be an example of a whole field planting. So if I came in here and did one of, let's just say corn, using some company, some hybrid, whatever the purpose might be, and whatever the seed rate population might be. Once that's all entered, then I would save that in the top right. And I need to save that as a recommendation if this is going out to a controller, to be sent out to an actual rec to be planted on a field. So I'll save that out. That's one option. Another option is using the planting operation at the field level, but when I do that at this field level, I'm going to come up here to Tools in the top left and click this where it says Load Management Zone. I'll scroll up to where I want to select the one as my corn recommendation zones based off the multi-year analysis that I had done over through Summit and FarmRight earlier, and save this. The red areas are the unstable or low. The green areas and the orange and the dark green are the low and stable, average and stable, and the dark green is going to be very high and stable. So I'll load that in, and now I've got my different zones. Now this says soil types at the top, but I went in and entered those names there. But let's just say that these were actual yield zones. So on the red area, if I select that, that shows up and highlights the 1.3 acres. Okay, what I want to do is select everything. So I'm going to come up here and select every one of these zones. And you might want to pull that to the left a little bit just to make sure that you get all of your yield zones. And I've got my 40.3 acres because that's what the acres are total on that field. And I do know that I want to plant corn in here across all 40.3 acres. And I know I want to plant this company, I want to plant this hybrid, and I want to start out at my lowest seed rate population, which might be 30,000 seeds. So everything right now is assigned. It's not saved, but everything's assigned with the DCAB, DKC50, 83 rib, and 30,000 seed rate pop. So I'll click on the multi-select. That's your copy-paste button. Think of that. That's only what I want on the red zone areas, or the lowest yielding areas. Now if I come to this next area, that's low. The red area is actually unstable. The orange area is low and stable. So we're going to pop that up to 32,000 in those areas, which in this case is 22 acres as you see on the field. Dismiss the key bar. Go now to that next soil type, or in this case this could be the average and stable yield zones, and we're going to pop that up to 34,000 seed rate population. Come over here to the next soil type, in this case, or it could be the high, very high and stable yield zones, and that would be the green zone, and I'll populate that with 36,000 seed rate population, and dismiss the key bar. So now if I go back through each one of these by clicking on the tabs at the top, you notice my 10.2 is at 34,000. If I go back to this dark green, which would be like your highest and stable yield areas, that's 36. Back to the Elliott silt loam is 34. Back here to this next one is 32. Back down to the low and unstable, which would be 30,000. So the ideal is to use that multi-year analysis or soil types or any zones that you might have pushed over from Summit into your Sirrus program to be able to do variable rate seeding by those zones of variability across the field. Then I would save this once I've assigned everything in the top right. The event date would be today with the from and to date, and you definitely want to save this as a recommendation. But the from and to date, you may want to push that out to a particular date that would be appropriate. And I'm just sliding my finger over the left, so I'll put this far enough out that it's going to be available to that planter whenever he's ready to actually do the actual planting. It dries up enough for that. So I'm done. At this point, I can save this as a recommendation. So I'll save that in the top right. And I can now come up here to the top right and go to Options, and I can send this out as a shape file to my person that I wanted it to go to. If I wanted to send it out as a shape file zipped up or unzipped, the reason why you would use unzipped is if you were at the field level, it's going to be pretty small in size. If you were up at the farm or grower level and you did this across multiple fields and you were doing whole field, those can get a little bit bigger, so that's where you might want to zip them. Kick this out, export this file out as a unzipped file to be sent to that individual. And then it would ask, how do you want to send this out? So I would hit the upload arrow, and if I have my iOS set up or my iPad set up, I could either send this out in the email to that individual, or I could go to my More button and add other things in here. If I had this iPad set up, I don't, but if you have your email address set up, you could hit that and utilize that to send that out through email to that location.